Okay, so for my last video, I have my camera all rigged up here. It's being held up by pots and clay and my toolbox and a couple of other things. So I figured while I have this perfectly set up for right now, I would do another video from the top. I started thinking about what is great to see from the top, and I think it's a chip and dip. So I'm gonna go ahead and make a chip and dip. So this is about 4 pounds of clay, 3.5. And maybe a chip and dip doesn't get made out of 3.5 to 4 pounds of clay. Maybe it's more of like a shrimp cocktail or a nuts, put the shells in the middle, or I don't know, maybe a personalized diet controlled chip and dip. So go ahead and cone it up, and like I said, plenty of videos about me coning up, but maybe seeing it from the top helps a little. Palm of my hand towards my 4 fingers here, push towards the middle. Clay starts to go up and you follow it up. Then you're just going to go ahead and center small bits at a time. I'm going to do it in fast motion. Normally I would slow it down a little to show you guys how I'm doing it in my head, but again, I don't really think about it when I'm doing it. And if you keep on doing this, you won't think about it either. Doesn't mean you can think about other stuff, but it does mean that you won't have to really think about what your body's doing. Okay, so as mentioned in my plates videos, and even though I want to start this piece of clay wide, okay, I still want to center tall and narrow, because once it's flat, hard to cone it up again. So I'm just going to kind of start like this. I want to be mindful of the bat pins. If I go past the bat pins, I'm a little screwed, because it's going to have a little bit of a space in it. So the way that I open up or create the mounds that I want, I'm going to start to push into the center with the wheel going fast. My left hand is catching the clay that's oozing out the sides, but it's also pushing it back in to fill in that space underneath. With chip and dips, it's even more important to do this because you're going to have a super flat bottom. So you can't risk having that sort of ring of air that gets created by the clay folding over and creating that space. And it's also really important that you compress evenly, because it is going to be flat. There are plenty of chances for a chip and dip to crack, but hopefully it's not, because you left too much air down on the bottom. Now I think 4 pounds of clay could probably make a chip and dip that stops right at the pins. I'm going to block with my head for a second, use my whole body. So not only am I pushing down in the center, but I'm also using this part of my hand. So I talk often about when you increase the size of your clay, you increase the size of your tools. So instead of just using my fingers, I'm also going to use the palm of my hand. I think that right around there is kind of where I want to be. I want to leave enough clay for a nice dip. I'm gonna make a nice wall for my chips. They don't fall out when I'm going from the kitchen to the living room or whatever else, who knows. Okay, so we want to define where that chip is gonna be, where that dip is gonna be. I'm a big fan of about 1/3. So I'm gonna take my thumb and I'm gonna just gradually create where that element is going to start. You figure you need about a 1 pound ball to get yourself a real nice bowl for salsa. So 1 pound in the middle here seems to be a good amount. Now, biggest mistake people make is they go down too deep here. The reason cracks happen in chip and dips, which I do have a video about, really short one, is usually an uneven bottom. You end up with really thick clay here, but then right in here is thin. So when it starts to shrink and dry, it will literally pull apart. So right there, that's where my my dip is gonna go, and I'm just gonna sort of create a little bit of a groove here with my index finger on my right hand, and I'm going to push down in the center here and sort of open it up as if it's a mini bowl. So my hand is sort of here. I'm gonna go here. And I'm just gonna pull towards my left palm, the same way I would a small bowl if it was just a pound of clay. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just open this up a little bit more using all 4 of my fingers. So I want to get a nice, my outside hand is collecting the clay. And that's going to pretty much define my 2 elements. I got a little dry in here, so I'm just going to compress this. Now, I'm going to pull my dip first, because if I pull my chip first, I'm never going to be able to get my fingers in there. And this goes for double-walled pots, donuts. So in theory, this is sort of a donut, right? We would just collect this together, but this would go all the way through for those people who wonder how to make a donut. I never really know what to do with my donuts, so I don't make them often, but I have to teach them in my studio a lot. Okay, so now I've got the inside of my bowl, and now I'm gonna start to pull my walls. Same thing as when I make regular bowls. I don't wanna go out yet until I build those walls up. Start down on the bottom here. I'm pretending that the inside of my dip is my bat, and I'm scooping straight across and up, and I like to keep a nice thick lip on my bowl. It is the Jewish holiday, so maybe it's apples and honey. Okay, so now that I've created that, I'm gonna go in with my sponge, and I wanna pull out my floor of my chips as if I'm making a much larger bowl or cylinder. Compressing the floor until I get right to that width. Now you want to leave yourself enough clay because you've got to come up as high as here. Do you have to have something that is even? No, but as a beginner chip and dip, it's going to be a lot easier to trim if this is the same height as your walls or shorter than your dip. Now, just like with a large bowl or a plate, you want to make sure that you don't go out too far. I might be a little short here. We'll see what I can scoop up from the outside. So I'm starting on the outside and I'm pulling up, slowing my wheel down a little until I at least meet that chip, that dip. Down on the bottom, scoop that up. And you can stretch clay to get your height that you need. Okay, there we go. I did it. Didn't think I was. Thought this whole video was going to be a flap. Now, if I didn't, I could have went in with a pin tool and I could have shortened this, but yay. All right, so this is where mistakes happen. This little spot in here where the dip meets the chip. If that clay is shaped like this, that's a really thick piece of clay. So we want to really get in here and we want to define this bowl here. We want to take our finger and make sure that it is not too thick in that corner. Takes a little bit of finagling to get it in there. Maybe we flip the lip a little bit. There's always some fixing you can do to get it to sort of fit perfectly. Again, you don't want this chip part to go out too far past the bottom, especially not with the wheel going fast, because then gravity is going to take it. And I'm not a big fan of trimming very much on my chip and dip. And I'm slowly, gradually giving it a little bit more space so that I can have my shrimp or my chips or my whatever in here. I don't know. Do make it whatever you want. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and compress. I'm gonna feel in there, make sure I don't have any real thick spots. I don't think I do. Here too, I wanna make sure, and it does hang over a little. I guess this is sort of the problem with the above camera. It's hard to see what's going on the side. But again, just like with a bowl, you want a real substantial lip on this. We want it to be a little thicker. It's gonna make sure it doesn't warp. Okay. Always make sure to get the water out of this, because if that water sits in there, it will crack in that sort of sensitive area, which is right where it meets again, because it's thick and thin. I'm gonna go in here and trim off the bottom. I'm not gonna take off a little. I wanna get off as much as I can because I really don't wanna trim very much. And again, because I can't get in there right now, I'm just gonna leave it. there's no real reason for me to care about getting that extra clay off. It is already separated. It's gonna be a lot easier when it's dry to take it off. I'm gonna clean off my bat again. Best practices, if you don't clean the sides of your bat with big pots and you go and you take this off, you're gonna hit this and you're gonna hit your fingers when it slips. So you just wanna leave it. This is the other situation where you're gonna wanna wire with it on the wheel and moving. Again, I said it in my plates video. It's a little bit of a skill, so don't be hard on yourself if you mess it up. But it's also very hard to hold that tool really taut and go straight. So there you go, there's my chip and dip. How am I gonna trim this? I'm literally just gonna flip it over, maybe on a foam bat, and just clean off the edges. It doesn't need a foot. There you go. Hope you enjoy entertaining with this. Don't forget to follow and share and follow us on Instagram and all that fun stuff. And if you got any good ideas, put them in the comments. Have a great day.